Hi everyone, welcome back to Cross-Cultural Communication. My name is Dr. Zukis and I hope you're all enjoying the course so far, working your way through Module 1 and perhaps beginning Module 2 and even moving beyond that today. Module 1 talked about what is culture. You learned about values, attitudes, belief systems, and the structures and traditions that develop from those to create a culture that pervades through time. You learned about the iceberg metaphor, which is applicable to individuals and different cultural groups that we only perhaps see just a small glimpse of what is the full beauty of a culture and all of the different components that make it up. And similarly with individuals, we often don't really get beyond the tip of that iceberg. So a metaphor that's used quite often in social dialogue, but particularly applicable for this context. So, all right, so that was Module 1. Once you've finished finishing up Module 1, you'll want to be able to take the quiz, all right? Now, there was a glitch with the lockdown browser with the quizzes, so thank you for those of you who asked about that in the Q&A discussion. Uh, so I have gone ahead and fixed that glitch, so the quizzes should be all set to go, and you can be moving through them at your pace. So take that quiz for Module 1, and then you can move ahead on to Module 2. For Module 2, now that the question of what is culture has been answered, we can move on to why study cross-cultural communication? Why is cross-cultural communication important, right? And so that's, of course, to broaden our minds, our experiences, to make us well-rounded individuals, which is a core component of an undergraduate liberal arts education that we receive at UW-Whitewater and many other institutions. So in this unit, you'll learn about ethnocentrism, about how a certain degree of ethnocentrism, of pride, patriotism in one's culture is inherent across so many different cultures. But of course, we can't all have our culture being number one or someone else's being number one, even though that's kind of right the underlying belief that our sports team is the best, or we have the best technology of countries or societies in the world, or military or whatever have you, right? So rather, a view of cultural relativism is encouraged, and that's that all cultures have very unique and special aspects that make them succeed and excel in various different areas. No one culture could be the best, no matter what maybe political governments and groups might tell their citizens or their cultural followers. Right, that's maybe a common theme that we see in many countries. We even with our sports teams, right? We think our state's sports team is the best, but we know that that's not always the case. So we can combat that ethnocentrism with that cultural relativism view. And what that also helps us do is helps us to prevent other terms that you'll learn about in this module, like xenophobia, the fear of others and those people from different cultures, particularly those from other foreign governments. And some of the negative effects that can have if we aren't careful. So you'll be learning about those in Module 2. You'll also learn about an application a segment which begins in Module 2 and will carry on throughout the rest of the course. The application unit really takes the concepts that Dr. Wildemuth is explaining and trying to put them into a bit of practical reality. So maybe, for example, in Module 2, thinking about immigration issues and maybe some current events or contemporary topics going on that relate specifically to a particular culture at this moment in time. And there's no particular reason why it is any one culture for these different applications, but could be various. I just saw a program the other night about the Exclusion Act, which excluded Chinese people from becoming American citizens. So as a society grows through time and changes, there may be different moments throughout a culture's history where they become more or less ethnocentric, more or less xenophobic. And so by learning about how different groups go through these phases and address maybe issues such as immigration, we can broaden our minds and have more of that cultural relativism view so that we can combat some of those negative effects such as xenophobia. And look more toward diversity as an important component for growth within a society of new ideas and exciting progress for our culture, an important cultural value which you learned about in Module 1, Progress. All right, so that'll be Module 2 then. So you'll want to be moving through that one and then get to Module 3, Knowledge of Self. So this is how do you identify yourself and not only yourself in a bubble, but also in relation to society, in relation to a dominant culture or other cultures. So you want to be moving through these modules and then taking the quizzes, as I said. And then our first discussion is due this Friday. All right, it's due this Friday by 11:30 p.m. So you'll find that there's about 2 or 3 modules that are relevant for each discussion. So you'll want to be moving through those about 1 module a day. All right, that'll probably be the pace you'll want to be doing this. So be sure to move on to knowledge of self tomorrow, so that then you can start working on the discussion to meet that deadline for Friday. Okay, so you can find your discussion groups on the first discussion board posting, and then you'll see below there that the identity discussion board, is the first discussion that you'll want to take part in. Okay. And so that'll be including, of course, it's about identity. So you will need to get through module 3, which is about knowledge of the self. All right. The second discussion then isn't due then until next week, but that's the artifacts discussion board. And for that one, you'll need to have completed modules 4 and 5. And then you'll note after that, the third discussion is on stereotypes and prejudice. And for that, you'll need to have moved through modules 6 and 7. All right. So the quizzes are all set to go, so you can begin moving through these as you will. And you'll want to also not forget that then our first midterm will be next Friday. Oh, yeah, Friday the 8th. All right, so Friday the 8th, you need to have completed that by 11:30 p.m. All right, so let's see. I think the quizzes are good to go. Discussion groups are assigned. You'll notice the grade book is all set and up to date. There is not extra credit options nor a research project for this summer session. Those are traditional elements of the main course through the semester, but we just don't have time in this summer session. So don't worry about those, but you'll see that there is an updated gradebook that has all the components necessary for you there. Also important to note, one last final note, is that you can take the quizzes twice, so be sure to always take them twice and your highest score will be reported, all right? Now you only get one shot at the midterm and the final exam, but you do get 2 chances on those quizzes. All right, well, feel free to keep posting discussion questions if you have them to the Q&A part of the board, and otherwise I hope you're moving along through the course and enjoying the material. Feel free to email me and check in if you need anything. All right, bye now.